Think about parental anger for just a moment and ask yourself what brings it on. I think if you do that, you're going to realize that sometimes there's an element of surprise that's a part of that. You come upon something and you're surprised by what you see, or you're trying to get something done and you're working on what you're working on. You hear somebody yelling in the other room and you're kind of surprised by that. This element of surprise is significant, I think, because when we're surprised, we tend to have this knee jerk reaction. And if we can prepare ourselves for the surprises of life, then we're dealing with a whole arena of challenges that we find. I think sometimes we're pretty quick to react with our emotional challenge to emotional challenges. And this idea of surprise creates some real issues for us. So preparing for that can be really helpful. So I think that's when this passage in 1 Peter 4:12 becomes so helpful. It says this: "Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you." Now, Peter's talking about all kinds of things, probably persecution and other things, but the principle is still the same for any of us, that when we're surprised, we sometimes don't react in the best way that we would like to react. I think it's a great application for parenting. Plan for the surprises in life. That seems a little bit like an oxymoron. How can you plan for a surprise? But I do think that if we start saying, okay, when I'm surprised, I'm going to do this first, then it can help us to mediate some of the emotional drama that takes place. I think in part we're surprised when our kids do the wrong thing because we don't want to be doing the correction. I mean, correction is part of our job description. It's part of what we have to do. And every time our child is acting out or doing the wrong thing or reveals some character weakness, it is an opportunity for us to step in and do some training. So likely we need to position ourselves better in this area of surprise by saying, okay, I've set my schedule for today. It's not so tight that I'm running from one thing to the next, but I have margin in my life so that when I have an interruption, I don't have to react with anger. I can pause what I'm doing. I can look at that interruption. I can say, okay, what's going on here? And it becomes more part of what I'm doing as a parent. So the surprises then turn into these opportunities. I think interruptions are often God's way of getting our attention. And so when we look at interruptions differently, then when one comes about in our life, then we're not so shocked by it and react to it. And I think it does something not only for those that we're relating to, like our children, but it does something in our own heart, because our goal really is to remain at peace in our relationship with the Lord and to be at peace in the midst of what we do. I was talking to one mom and I said, your goal now that we've worked on this anger in your own life, your goal is when you get up in the morning that you set your time with the Lord and you say, okay, Lord, my goal is to be at peace with you all day. Would you please help me? So when I go out that door and meet the rest of my family and I start experiencing things, Lord, would you help me to be recognizing that peace is my most important goal? And so when I'm surprised by this, or I don't like what I'm seeing here, would you help me to recognize that peace? And I think when we do, God answers that prayer. He helps us to be more focused on Him. And when we do lose it, we can quickly then recenter ourselves, recognizing that our mission in life is peace, not just fixing all the problems of life, not just righting all the wrongs that we see, but our real goal is peace. And when we do that, we're modeling something very important for our children. We want them to see that, yes, we're going to solve problems. We're going to deal with this problem you're having, or we're going to correct you. We're going to do what we need to do, but we're going to do it with a sense of peace. And that peace then does something inside of our own hearts that is really valuable. And so be careful of the surprises, that they don't shock you into some kind of emotional drama, and you'll be much more effective as you relate to your children.